want to introduce you to Nick Nanakos, the CEO of Ziki. His vision is to become the fastest growing restaurant on the planet with a master plan of becoming the Tesla of food. He's raised $5 million from Gigafund, Elon Musk's core investors. In the past 7 months, they've opened 10 new Ziki locations in Austin alone. They've completely automated their business by recently acquiring a kitchen robotics startup that should increase their output by 3x. You're going to love this episode. Let's get to it.
Man, welcome to the intro. No need for introductions. All about the world and the world what we discussing. Where every single thought that we had came from something. So it's funny that we made it when we started here with nothing. Gotta open up your mind just to find out why. When you lost inside the dark, just gotta turn on the light. And no matter what you do, you never run from a fight. Because we fighting to be better and that's why we strive.
Sweet. I'm here with the founder of Ziki, Nick Nanakos, and we met. I swear we met on Rainy Street or something like that.
Yes,
many years ago. The first few months I was in Austin seemed like a decade ago. But you want to give a quick preview on who you are, and we'll kind of get to the podcast.
So my name is Nick Nanakos, founder and CEO of Ziki. Quickly on my story. So originally from New York, come from a huge restaurant entrepreneurial background. You know, grandfather came from Greece, started with a hot dog stand in Manhattan.
Love it.
Rest of the family came over, got into restaurants. So we own diners, steakhouses, cafes, all of that.
Cool.
My mother owned several Greek restaurants in New York called Ziki, and so that's the abbreviated name. So that's named after the most iconic sauce in Greek cuisine, which is Greek yogurt, olive oil, cucumber, dill. It's like just a very.
That's what Ziki sauce is.
That's what Ziki sauce is. Well, we have a Chipotle Ziki as well.
Oh, cool.
So, and so yeah, just restaurant experts in my family my entire life. So growing up, basically, if I wasn't in the restaurant, in the kitchen with my mother, I was on job sites with my father, who was in construction and painting. I went to school in Philadelphia. So I started my first company. I was studying finance and real estate. I loved land. I loved numbers. I hated corporate. So this is an important part of the story, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But it leads into how Ziki was born. And so basically, I go to school. There's food trucks everywhere. And so my first company is a software around food trucks for consumers and food truck owners. So basically, customers download our app, they find all the food trucks, order ahead, pick up, delivery, etc. Trucks have their own app, receive orders, receive analytics and whatnot. So I end up signing up like 150 food truck owners door to door.
Nice. Drop
out of school, move to Austin, Texas. The reason I quickly mentioned that part of the story is because that was basically years of specific knowledge gathering around this obsession around the unit economics of mobile kitchens.
Yeah.
So I'm like, these food trucks, they're mobile kitchens and they have explosive growth and they're way less costly to start.
Oh, for sure.
But they don't have technology. So anyway, I drop out. I moved to Austin, Texas. When I moved to Austin, Texas, I meet this food truck owner who I wanted to sign up to the platform. And actually, I ended up having this epiphany moment when I met him. He's running a 16-foot food truck, Mediterranean concept, doing $100,000 in sales per month. Which is unheard
insane.
Of. It's
wow.
really serious volume, and he showed
me. Wait, what area of Austin is this in?
He was by like East Cesar Chavez area.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And basically, he was crushing it, and he had a very sophisticated operation, was leveraging technology, so a lot of delivery and everything. So I have this big epiphany moment. I'm like, okay, you know what? I don't want to do this software play on food trucks. I want to create the most significant company to ever exist in food, and that entails becoming fully vertically integrated and having this factory production model where we're actually going to manufacture our own modular restaurants from this gigafactory, this Ziki, as we call it, and that's what we do. We manufacture modular restaurants with unstoppable unit economics. And the brand that we scale out of these modular restaurants is Ziki. And Ziki's a Greek and Mexican fusion food concept. We use no seed oils, no vegetable oils, no soy. Very health-driven, very health-focused. We work with the best farms in all of Texas and many suppliers. Grass-fed butters is what we use, grass-fed milks, pasture-raised eggs, animal-based ghee. We take this back to basics fundamental approach on what's actually healthy for you, and we want to re-architect the toxic food system, which is currently poisoning people everywhere throughout the world, right? We can get into the whole seed oil thing, but basically that's what we do, and we really can manufacture a ton of these things per month with a process that nobody else in the world has, and we're actually the only restaurant company on the planet that manufactures their own expansion. Nobody else, no other restaurant company.
Very cool.
And operates the units. We don't just build them and pass them off. We
Yeah,
build them, and then we find the real estate, put them on site. We handle all the permitting, hire the chefs, train them, and operate them. So if Chipotle wants to open 100 restaurants, they sign 100 brick and mortar leases. If we want to open 100 restaurants, we build 100 restaurants and operate them.
I love that.
And we can do it orders of magnitude faster and better with better margins and better economics overall.
So a lot to break down out of all that. A lot of questions just came up. I want to get to the seed oil thing because I know nothing about seed oil eventually. But first and foremost, I wanted to say when I was making these questions, it was at night. I was trying to do a little fast, trying to not eat for like 20 hours, something like that.
Okay.
And it was really tough because I was going through your website and all these images were popping up, and I almost broke my fast to go grab a snack because I was getting so hungry, man. And I've had Ziki multiple times. It is so delicious. I had never had Greek food before. I had it once in Washington State. Then I moved to Austin. I started going to these, getting gyros and stuff like that. I didn't know what gyros were. I was saying gyro. You know what I mean? I didn't know what I was doing.
Either one actually works.
Oh, either one works.
Yeah.
Oh, good to know. Random little fact for everybody. But yeah, I didn't know anything about it. And then I tried your Ziki product. I love Mexican food, and I fell in love with gyros. And then the combination was just like, oh, dude, huge fan. Had all the homies going to it. But how did starting off in the restaurant business like get you started for this? Because I've worked in restaurants before and I know a little bit, but I can't imagine like at an early age jumping into the restaurant world, and then when you're an adult being able to run one. What kind of stuff did you learn growing up that helped you run the business?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's actually, I would say, critical to the story because I can't even explain the number of times, also the amount of time that I just spent in restaurants from like 5 years old.
Like doing homework and stuff like that there?
We lived there. It was me and my cousins basically always there because my family was all in business together. So like my mother and father owned a massive diner with my uncles and my grandparents.
Oh, wow.
And it was like it was like all of our relatives and all of our cousins there. And all the cousins, there's like 12 cousins, so there's like a lot of us. And that's how we grew up. But it's those little lessons that you learn because my grandfather, again, he started the whole restaurant thing throughout our family, right? And he's very meticulous and very picky and very specific and just very observant about everything. So, I actually was just with him this past weekend. I got to see my whole family. We were at my nephew's christening, and it was a great moment. But it was the first time also I brought a ton of Ziki, and the whole entire family extended family got to try it, and they freaked out, and they loved it.
Nice.
But it's the little lessons. It's like the extra napkin that goes in the trash when it doesn't need to, the ketchup packet that wasn't used that you need to bring back. It's cost control to a large extent and consistency. And like, you might think, okay, well, it's just a napkin. Like on an average unit cost, like what is that, like 3 cents or whatever? But compounded by how many orders and how many times across how many customers, we served over 20,000 orders last month alone.
That's a lot of napkins.
It's just compounded cost, right?
100%.
So it's like keeping control on your two costs. It's labor and food, and with labor, those are ultimately some of the biggest lessons that I learned from my family.
100%. And then same question basically, but like when you were working with these food trucks, same concept. Like I went from a B2C in the fitness space to a B2B in the fitness space. So like I feel like I took my first experiences into my second one. So when you're working with all these food trucks, making the app, like what little things along the way were you kind of noticing that you're like, oh my God, if I ran a food truck, I would never do this, or like this is a good idea, I'm going to use this for my food truck?
I think the biggest thing behind Ziki's success ultimately would probably point to its full vertical integration. When you're in control of everything, you have a very, very lethal advantage that a lot of other companies don't do. I don't like to wait on people. I don't like to say, we want to build a restaurant and so-and-so's building it for us. Oh, supply chain delayed. Like, I want to be in control of that, and I want my team to be in control of that, and I want to set up the systems and processes that allow for us to do that in the best way possible. So the full vertical integration gives you the control, not only over food, not only over the recipes, not only over the execution on the food items itself, not only on which real estate you're picking, not only we don't franchise any units. We own and operate every single unit. We can point to Chipotle as an example here. Chipotle now has a 57 billion market cap. They're crushing it. 3,000, I think over 3,500 stores, all owned and operated by them.
That's crazy.
So Yeah. When you ask what would I not do, I mean, I could go on forever. It's like just the truck itself, the design. The designs don't support the cuisine in many cases. It's like if the fryer's on the complete other side of the restaurant and fried items.
You're just running back and forth.
You got to be running back and forth. So if you have a system where one person is basically overseeing a station and there's a good, there's like synergistic operations between chefs and they know how to maneuver that unit for the highest output possible, then you're going to obviously have an increase in sales because you can handle more volume and more efficiently. And customers hate waiting for food.
Yeah. So with that point specifically. When you were mocking that up, did you kind of do like a UX UI type thing where you have the food truck and you're like, okay, well, if I'm here, then I'm doing this, and like, how did you pick the most efficient way to make your truck?
So I'm incredibly design focused.
I love design. Design.
Me too. I'm obsessed with design. And I think design is in everything. I think if you look at Tesla and Apple, they're design companies.
You got a Tesla, there you go.
Exactly. Among many things, they're design companies, right? You look at the door handles, you look at everything that they do, is the subtleties, right? So I had heard a great quote from a good friend and somebody that's really smart in Austin as well, David Perel, and he said product is subtlety compounded. So it's the little things that you're constantly iterating on. And it's the subtleties. So the first rendering was basically actually on a whiteboard, and I just drew it, and I said, like, there should be a kiosk here and big giant windows that are going to allow for a lot of natural light so that the chefs don't feel that they're operating out of a prison block. No. Because that's one of the big things for food trucks. It's dark. Yeah. It's dark and lonely.
And they're kind of like doing this.
There's one window, the pickup window. Well, we have massive windows centered in the truck, huge. Light comes in, they can see the street, they can see, it feels... it's just energizing, and then for the customer it's important too because they're standing outside of our unit. They look through the window, and right behind it is the refrigerators with all the ingredients fresh. So it creates that level of trust and transparency for the customer. No,
100%. No, and I'll put a picture up while you're speaking of the Ziki truck.
Yes.
What do you call it? A truck? What do you call it?
The public, like most customers, call it a truck. They equate it in their brain to a food truck. It's not a food truck. It doesn't have an engine. We don't move them around. We can move them, which is a beautiful part of the model, right? Like, what if a location just doesn't work out? We can always pick it up.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
That said, we call them either like modular units or trailers.
Cool. But truck isn't like derogatory to you though. It's not.
No, it's just
you're kind of used to it.
We internally call it unit. Like this unit needs to move, or that's a great unit, or that unit's performing well, or the trailer. We rarely say truck, but it's not derogatory and it's fine. It's whatever,
we'll make sure I'm not like
simplicity wins. So whatever people can do to wrap it around their head, it's easier. It's fine.
Very cool. And similar to starting off with the design of the truck, I don't know your culinary background. How did you start this company? And the food's fire, so we'll skip that part. The food is amazing. So how did you make these recipes? Do you have like a chef you worked with? Or are you just kind of like, I'm just kind of good at this stuff? How did you get to that point?
It was really a culmination of multiple things. So it started with my mother's restaurants at Ziki. A lot of parallels to what they were doing there too, from the sauces to the recipes. So the tzatziki sauce that we have is the most authentic one you're really probably going to find in the United States.
So is that like a family recipe?
That's my mother's recipe for the sauce.
I love that. Okay, cool.
And there's people go nuts over that. We had one writer do a story that says Ziki plots global culinary domination.
Nice.
This guy lived in Greece for 2 years. He said the sauce is better than what I had in Greece. So I mean, and there's a few items that carried over. There was my mother's cuisine was extremely creative, and then we basically took it to the next level at Ziki. And you unlock a lot of creativity by basically infusing Mexican with Greek because number one, it doesn't exist, and number two, the ingredients work well together because Greeks don't really have spice in their cuisine and many other things. They don't have avocado. They don't have a lot of certain things that I just knew would fuse well together. And then also, there's a really incredible culinary expert on our team named Mo, and he's just a recipe master. And so we've iterated product after product. It's like testing the same item or burrito 100 times until we nail it.
And I went to your website again when I was making these questions the other night, and I noticed like a couple of new items on there. What are some new items that you launched recently, and like why did you put those on the menu?
So the most recent new item, I would say, that's performing insanely well. It skyrocketed up to I think number 3 on our entire menu, and it was launched very recently because Ziki's been open for a little bit over a year. And basically, I mean, in a year's time, we'll talk about what we've done and the funding and everything like that. But in a year's time, we opened up from 1 location to 10 locations in less than 7 months.
Yeah, that's insane.
So Yeah. What was the question?
The new menu item.
The new menu. So the item is the smash burger.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
I saw it and I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It looks so good.
So brioche bun, garlic butter, toasted bun, fig spread, so it's a little sweet, and then a grass-fed Wagyu beef patty. Oh. And then feta that's imported from Europe, and then on top of that, balsamic glaze, and then diced onion. And it's insane.
Oh, we're going to use that as a short on Instagram. That's going to just do numbers.
It
sounded
really
so good.
Will. It really. I mean, the first bite into it, you're just like, brain explodes because you never had anything like it.
Is that so? That's not Mexican, but that has that's more of a Greek infused like burger then, basically.
I would say so, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
Greeks,
gotcha.
We have kind of things that are like burger patties. They're called beefsteaki and like
gotcha.
They're like patties. So the feta, the fig, and figs are big in Greek cuisine as well. One other item I would talk about too is the yaya smoothie, which is usually my breakfast, and it's just 5 simple ingredients. So it's banana, avocado, raw unfiltered honey, grass-fed milk, and cinnamon, and that's it.
Okay.
And it's just like
a bowl or a smoothie, or what was that? Smoothie. Gotcha.
Smoothie.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yaya.
That sounds
smoothie.
good.
And that means grandma. Greek.
Might have to go pick that up. How do you go about getting rid of a menu item? So let's say the smash burger's killing it, and let's say you have 10 items on your menu. The 10th one's not really pulling it. Do you just get rid of it and then maybe offer it to people remember it, or how does that work?
That's a good question too. Recently we slashed off some things. I think it entails data and instinct.
Okay.
So we look at the data and we say, how much are these items selling? And less so about an item than the individual ingredients that make up an item.
Oh, true.
So a lot of times it's like, do we really need jalapenos on the menu? We didn't. So I
gotcha.
have jalapenos. It entails a lot of decisiveness, and there are oftentimes hard decisions because people have.
Someone's going to want a
preferences.
jalapeno. You know?
Exactly. Someone's going to want it, but is it make or break? And for every one item that we add to the menu, the rule is that we slash 2.
Oh, damn.
To keep things simple, because then the menu will get out of control.
Oh, for sure. So it's prioritizing. We have all these feature requests. Which one do we choose? And then kind of with you, it's like you guys want to build everything internally, which obviously is working very well. But at what point you're like, okay, but we're not going to make our own napkins, or we're not going to create our own garbage bags. So at what point do you stop? And then you kind of just mentioned the fact that you kind of track your data and all that. So did you guys build your own internal data software, or did you guys just kind of outsource that software?
So we're building our own.
I knew you were.
Data. So data is all handled by us.
Okay.
Obviously, we pull data from different funnels, right? Like Doordash, Uber Eats, but our software is all aggregated. So we use the third-party marketplaces like Doordash, Uber Eats, Grubhub, and so on. But that funnels into one tablet. Toast is our POS software. And we're building and getting ready to launch the Ziki app, which is built completely by us, which will be the best and most intimate way that a customer can order through Ziki.
Love it.
Rewards and competitive pricing. So it'll be cheaper to order through the Ziki app than it will be anywhere else.
Very cool.
That launches next month. And so, but to your question about where do you stop? Are you going to build your own napkins? I think you have to take a practical approach, but I look at it from the standpoints of what are the biggest things that are going to prohibit us from moving as fast as we'd like to. If somebody's very good at making napkins and can produce them at a reasonable price, then we're not going to go and start making napkins, right? But if there are things that consistently prove to be a problem, say across supply chain, or say for example, we look at refrigerators in our units. We buy True refrigerators, which are the best brand in restaurants for refrigerators.
That's what the brand's called, True?
Yeah,
True.
For the most part, they're renowned to be the best.
Gotcha.
But that said, we're okay, there's on those refrigerators, there's a foot from the floor of just legs that elevate the fridge, and then also from the roof or the top of the fridge, there's a huge gap. So we're there's really not we're losing space capacity. So if we built our own refrigerators, we could go ceiling to floor, compressor, positioned better, and we would significantly increase the amount of inventory that we can have in a unit, and that's very important.
Interesting.
Because the more capacity you have out of these units, the more you can serve, and the less logistical requirements you need. For example, we ran out of fajitas. Now somebody's got to go and deliver those fajitas to the truck, but if it had the full capacity, then even better. So we're going to be building our own refrigerators, our own tables, and things like that.
Damn.
But practicality is important in this too, because I'm not going to produce napkins.
I love that, right?
Exactly. But honestly,
Yeah. We'll how does that work owning a truck or a unit then? Like the fajita example, how do you How do you budget for how many fajitas you're going to need in a day? Obviously, you use a lot of data, and then if that goes wrong, is it literally just somebody like, or what's that app called? I can't remember the name of it, but just ordering the fajitas, or they run into the store to get fajitas? Like, how does that work?
No, so basically, you look at it like this. We have a factory. From the factory, we manufacture the modular restaurants. Then we find the real estate, and we put them on the hottest sites, right? And then we hire the chefs, and we run it. So that is a launched, open restaurant, turnkey. Now we have a new Ziki location. Okay, but 10 locations across the entire city. Where do they source the food from? How do they prepare? So we have a commissary. And a commissary is basically a commercial kitchen. Our commissary is about like 20 minutes north from all of our locations. It's the central point of logistics.
Is it like near here, kind of?
Sort of, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And it's located in Texas's largest commercial kitchen. We have a massive private unit inside there, and so all of the food suppliers from farms, different food suppliers throughout the country, fajitas, avocados, chicken, all the produce goes to that commercial kitchen. We have a big set of employees that are operating that, and they're cutting veggies and making sauces and making fresh baklava and preparing everything for the modular units. And then we have refrigerated Sprinter vans that load up the ingredients, and they make deliveries every single day of freshly cooked ingredients. And this model is more sanitary, by the way, but also more cost effective as well, so that the chefs at the trucks are capable of just focusing on execution.
Oh, they're not
sitting there cutting veggies for 6 hours. It would be insane.
Damn.
So, and then to your point about how accuracy around order inventory and fulfillment, basically all of our software aggregates with the amount of orders that were sold. And so we know that if they sold a chicken bowl, then there's, say, 5 ounces of chicken in that bowl. We're down 5 ounces on chicken. And so it's basically everything's automated. And then the chefs will do one safety check, basically, to not fully rely on the software, to make sure, okay, I need more fajitas, and they place the order, it goes to the commissary then fulfills that every single day. So
So you're getting you're selling 10 smash burgers, and they're like, okay, well, we're going to need some brioche buns here in the next 5 hours, and then that kind of goes. Cool.
Because everything on the back end of the software is mapped against each item, so we know that if at the very first stage of the process, if a brioche bag has 8 buns in it, then we know that we delivered, say, let's just simplicity, delivered 1 bag of brioche buns to one of our locations. Now they have 8, and if they sold 7 burgers, then they have 1 brioche bun remaining, and the software knows how to recognize that because we've already in the back end mapped out each individual item. So it's already, everything's accounted for, but safety checks by humans as well.
Of course.
I'm not going to fully rely on robots, but you need both. Ziki's an intelligent theater where humans and robots share the stage.
Nice.
And we'll talk more about robots because we just basically acquired. Well, not basically. We just acquired a kitchen robotics company that built a grain bowl robot that can make 300 grain bowls per hour.
What is a grain bowl? Sorry, I don't know.
Grain bowl is like if you go to Chipotle, a bowl, a rice bowl,
gotcha.
a bowl.
It'll make the bowl with the ingredients.
The bowl 300 of them per hour.
Yeah.
So we acquired this company. I met the founders, brilliant guys, and an engineering team of 10. This acquisition actually just finished last week. I was working on it for 7 months, so I'm happy to announce it.
There we go.
Huge win. It's the first time it's being publicly
There we go.
There you go. But it's a massive victory because it's the step that basically takes Ziki and unlocks us and brings us closer to our master plan, and that master plan is becoming the Tesla of food.
Very cool.
So this puts in that automation component. We're going to be building custom robots ground up from our factory and handling all that automation ourselves, specific to Ziki, and putting them into each modular unit from the factory and then shipping them out at a speed that no one in the world can do.
I love that, man. And so obviously this kitchen setup makes a lot of sense when you have 10 units in a city, but I feel like if you only had 1 unit in a city, it'd be kind of weird to have 1 truck going back and forth. So when you expand to, let's say, Dallas, have you expanded to Dallas?
Not yet.
Gotcha. Okay. So when you expand to Dallas,
We're
is it
going
going to
Austin, Miami, and then probably Dallas.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
Miami's next.
So you expand to Miami next, and then are you going to have to open up a lot of locations at the same time in order for that to make sense financially, or what?
It's always better. Speed is great for your economics, right? But we will do that naturally because we have the ability to build up to 20 modular restaurants from our factory per month.
Cool. Very cool.
So we got our launch velocity when we were scaling Austin, right? 10 locations in 7 months. We got it toward the end of hitting that 10 goal. We were able to open a new restaurant from factory to being open for business in 2 weeks.
So sick.
You could build from nothing exists.
Yeah.
Build a full-blown modular restaurant, obtain the proper permits, right? find the real estate and sign the lease, hire and train all the chefs, and all that's done within 2 weeks.
That is so sick.
You compare this, if we're going to talk about like comparative to other people in the industry. Let's take Sweetgreen, let's take Cava, let's take Chipotle, let's take Shake Shack, all your favorite fast casuals, right? Their average store cost just to open a store is $1.2 million and goes all the way up to $2.7 million.
That's insane.
Just to open the store.
Damn.
Their payback periods are 16 months all the way up to 50 months, right? So, and then their AUVs, like their average unit volume of what they do in revenue out of a single unit across the board on average, it ranges anywhere from like 2 million to 3 million. In our case, and by the way, let's think about those numbers again. 1.2 million to 2.7 million just to open up a store.
And the time frame too. Like
and the time frame. Slow, expensive, sticky, heavy real estate.
Did you mention that like a year? Did you mention anything? Like how long does it take to get like a full Chipotle
Many
open
months.
up? Okay, gotcha. Okay.
And the reality is, like in our case, so our unit, you've seen them, they're large, right? That's a full-blown restaurant that can do north of 1.5 million in revenue per year.
That's incredible.
How much do you think that cost to build? I'm sure you're taking a wild guess.
I couldn't even.
But it's a full-blown restaurant that can generate 1.5 million. It's made all of aluminum. What would you say?
I've seen it, and I feel like I'm gonna go between 30 and 50K because I feel like less than that.
No, it's close to that.
Okay, gotcha.
Less than 100.
But still like a lot less than 1 million.
You know what it would cost?
For
if anybody else was to do what we do to build that?
Oh, like if it wasn't like a process and everything. Yeah.
250K.
Yeah. So you got
so that would typically cost 250K and even north of 300K. We do it for less than 100K.
That's
we can
crazy.
make 20 of them per month. And our payback periods are less than 6 months. And our profit margins are better than everybody else too, because think about labor. You can handle 1 million plus worth of revenue out of a unit, one single unit that costs less than $100,000 to build. The payback period is less than 6 months. And how many people are you staffing at a given time? 2, 3, maybe?
Yeah.
Right? You know what Sweetgreen, they just announced per shift on average how many people they have in the kitchen? In the restaurant, the whole restaurant? 20.
20? Oh, wow, damn.
20.
That's a lot of people.
I went to Chick-fil-A, and Chick-fil-A is one of my favorites. I love Chick-fil-A, just not even from the food standpoint. I don't like the fact that they cook in peanut oils, but beyond that, like what they stand for and their scaling and their trajectory and their volume is insane. But even then, they had like 15, 16 people when I
Yeah,
went
that's
there.
crazy.
But so, economics-wise, nobody has ever done what Ziki is doing. Honestly, it's absurd.
No, you guys are crushing it. I mean, so
and that's pre-automation. Just
before you get the
we don't even have the robots in the units yet.
Oh, they're going to be in the units.
They're
Gotcha.
going to be in the next generation. This is what the next wave of units are going to look like.
Oh, dang! Can I see that actually?
Yeah.
Let's get should we show the camera?
Yeah, show the camera.
Okay, here we go.
That next generation of units are going to be ridiculous. Built-in speakers. We're going to have a mothership tablet, like Ziki's similar to Tesla. Okay, and I'll tell you why. Number one is, for those that don't know, we raised our seed round from Gigafund. We went out to raise $5 million. Gigafund did all $5 million, and then we oversubscribed it with more money on top of that. And Gigafund invested at a time when we had one location, less than 10 employees, and not a lot of revenue at all, like less than 50K in revenue. In 7 months, so we closed Gigafund's money, right? We go from one location and less than 10 employees to, in 7 months, 10 locations and over 100 employees across the company. From doing less than 50K a month in revenue to over 500,000 a month in revenue. That's and growing. Incredible. It's a hockey stick curve, our charts. I could literally pull it up and show you. Every month has been an increase. And just imagine, with the economics I gave you, the fact that labor cost isn't even nearly how low it will be once robots are in.
Oh, for sure.
We're going to reduce labor cost by 50%, but not replace humans.
How many people will you still have in the unit while that's happening?
It'll probably be one at some point in the future. Because the robot's going to be able to make bowls, burritos, and quesadillas and everything.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's crazy. For people listening, can you walk us through the current Ziki experience? Like, I walk up to a Ziki truck, and then what happens? What do I push? All that.
Yeah, so you walk up to the unit, and the first thing you'll see is like this giant, bright pink modular restaurant. The color is going to attract you first because it's just like a very vibrant, fun color. I think it just boosts your mood by looking at it.
That's what I was going to ask. I have a question. Like, why did you choose? Is that why you chose pink?
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool.
Just nobody else is using it, and also it's just like such a fun color, and it embodies the brand, and that's what it is. It's like Sweetgreen, they feel like walking into a library, and Ziki feels like going to a nightclub. It's a big difference of experience.
It really sticks out, man. Like when I'm driving, I'm just like, oh, Ziki.
Yep, exactly. And also just from down to the music we play and the slogans we use, we're bold. Like our billboard in downtown, which I'm sure you've seen, it says like Ziki is the best food ever. That's the billboard, right? So you'll walk up, you'll see a touchscreen order kiosk, and you can just order right there. And then next to the touchscreen order kiosk, there's a huge windows, so you're watching the chefs cook the food right there, and then a pickup window at the end. So it's like order, watch your food being cooked, pick up. But there's also a QR code next to the kiosk, so if you don't want to order on the kiosk, you can order from your phone, and there's QR codes on the benches and on the signage nearby. So basically, we've rethought the entire order process, and we're redefining what it means to be a restaurant. So like the restaurant industry has been archaic for many years. That's where I draw the comparison to Tesla, and I don't want to lose that thought, because when you think of a business like Tesla and Ziki, Tesla on the simplest level, what do? They sell cars, but on the back end it's wildly complex. Automation, gigafactory, tons of software, fully autonomous, electric, right? So complex. Ziki's the same way. On the simplest consumer-facing level, what do? We serve food. On the back end, it's wildly complex. Giga Ziki, commissary, logistics, supply chain, agriculture components, software. Same things going on here. So the way that Tesla re-architected the car industry and rethought the whole process ground up, like the regenerative braking and the touchscreen tablet, we're doing the same thing with the restaurant industry.
Love that.
So, and we're really, our comparables and our competitors are not
even close.
Sweet Green, Kava, Chipotle, Starbucks. Those groups, they're more akin to, say, Whole Foods, and we're Amazon that bought Whole Foods.
Yeah, for sure. I love that, man. And why the logo?
Why the logo? All right. Well,
we'll put it up on the screen too.
I'm going to share a story with you on this podcast, which is going to be mind blowing. And actually, I never shared this either, and this one's quite personal.
Okay.
So, I've never talked about this publicly. No joke.
Okay.
So I was like on the fence about it because it was pretty recent. But interestingly enough, the logo is the tongue, right? So we'll put it up on the screen.
Yeah.
I designed this logo about, 10 months ago. And I was like, I want the tongue because the tongue can symbolize eating. Your mouth's open, like when you're putting a big bite of food in your mouth, but also it embodies the edginess and how fun the brand is, right? And it's a little flirtatious, and it fits the pink and that tongue logo. So we're talking like 10 months ago, right? That tongue logo was on every napkin, every cup, every T-shirt, everywhere, every single day. I'm seeing it like thousands of times. Like it's programmed in my brain. A few months ago, I start feeling something on my tongue, and the girl that I was dating at the time is a dental hygienist. So her whole job, like what she does for a living is being in the mouth basically, and cleaning teeth and inspecting and looking for things in the mouth. That's her job.
Yeah.
FaceTiming her, I go, yeah, we're just talking casually. I'm about to hang up the phone and go to sleep. And I go, yeah, and like, by the way, I've had this weird feeling, this weird thing on my tongue. I've had this weird feeling on my tongue for like almost a year. And I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, whatever, like canker sore, whatever.
Yeah.
And she freaked out. Like, she was like, what do you mean you have something on your tongue? Like, are you kidding me? You haven't got it looked at? I'm like, oh, okay. Like, we're booking you an appointment. We're going to do it ASAP and blah, blah, blah. So she booked a bunch of appointments, whatever. Fast forward, I go to the appointment. There's like a small growth in my tongue. They end up doing like an excision and sending a sample piece of the tongue to a lab. Comes back, it's tongue cancer.
Gee, I didn't even know you could get tongue cancer. Okay. Jesus.
It's tongue cancer. You can't script this in a movie. I designed that 10 months ago. It's because God was putting it there intentionally for me.
That's crazy.
God was literally, that was God.
Yeah.
How are you going to tell me otherwise? You're going to tell me it's coincidence that I make this tongue logo. I'm seeing it 1,000 times a day. I put it in thousands of people's hands, and then where do I get cancer? On my tongue.
That's crazy.
So I go, and it's this whole thing, and like, again, it's like the first time I'm talking about it, but just like recollecting the steps. So I go, they're like, listen, we're going to have to go through a bunch of tests, CAT scans and all this kind of different stuff. And I'm like, how serious is this? And they're like, look, it's very unusual that you got this at your age. And it almost feels like a case of bad luck in a way, which I don't know if I believe that, because I think that everything's intentional. But they go, we're going to do CT scans and blah, blah, blah. So for like months and months, I'm uncertain, because they're like, we don't know if this has spread to your lungs and chest and head, which means you would have to undergo chemo and blah, 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 blah. So for months, I'm not talking to anybody about this. The only person that knows is me and her. And then eventually I told my team, because I was like out and about, going to appointments nonstop. And then a week before, I told my family about the surgery, and I ended up having a surgery where they cut out the cancer. Thank God, everything good. Like, they removed it, and that's it. And like they say, there's a chance, less than 1% chance of it ever coming back.
Awesome,
I believe it's fully eradicated, but that's a very important and defining moment of my life, because if you ask me what the most challenging moment of my life was, I would say it was previously, like my dad had gotten sick, and it was that before, many years ago when I was in college, but up until this point, now it's this, because so now I just turned 27, I'm 26 at the time, right? This a few months ago. You're actually confronted with death, because you have the doctor saying, well, this may very well just spread throughout your whole chest and lungs and head, and you're going to have chemo, and you're 26, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like what do I do to do this?
Out of nowhere. So your whole perspective shifts. In my case, it brought me way more close to my faith. I prayed like crazy, and I really tapped into that. I've always been a religious guy, but that tapped me into it even further. And we didn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
We didn't miss a beat. I had that going on for months. We opened 10 locations in 7 months. We raised all this venture money. We fucking executed and crushed it, and nothing stood in the way. And I think that embodies everything at Ziki. Our number one value is that we have faith. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world. It doesn't matter if markets are this, markets that. That brings me to the point of fundraising right now. The climate. Markets are crazy. Blah, blah, blah. Investors aren't writing checks. It's like, what a fear-driven mindset. Markets are always going to go up and down. There's always going to be crisis in the world, and there's always opportunity in crisis. It's like so ridiculous that you have this herd-like mentality across Silicon Valley and in all these venture institutions where one gets a little bit afraid, and then they all back away, and they're all terrified of writing checks. It's like, guess what, investors? Similar to the stock market, nobody in the stock market, it's the only place in the world where people don't want to buy things when they're on sale. Well, guess what? Things are on sale. You should be deploying tons of capital right now, and you should be taking all the risk, because this is where you're going to have the biggest deals of your life. And it's like, oh, well, the markets are crazy, and the global economic. When is that not? It's so cyclical. It's like, okay, if it wasn't 2008, then it was at some point in the 90s, and guess what? It's going to be in 2030, and it's like, you're going to change your strategy around fear. Like, when all these things were happening and all these layoffs were happening just a few months ago, and this is like before SVB collapse and everything like that, everyone was laying off thousands of people, and I was hiring like a maniac.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm like, fine, give me that talent. Like, you have the best talent, and you're getting rid of them because you're scared? Give them to me. Give them to me. We'll take them. And we did. And we did, and now we have some of the best operational people on the team and everything like that. And we got to where we got. So my point is, like, fuck fear. It's such a liar. It's such a trap. And it applies to founders and investors. Founders can't be fear-driven. You have to make decisions before you even know if they will actually work. You have to believe that they're going to work and trust your intuition and take the risk. And the same thing goes with investors, because not everybody's cut out to be a true founder and entrepreneur. Not everybody can withstand the battles and the wars and everything that you have to go through. It's just a fact. You might think, people might think, oh, they're built for this. Oh, anybody can do that. No. There's a special set of people that are capable of building the greatest and most significant companies on the planet. They're the Elons, they're the Nick Nanakoses, they're the few select. And then the same rule applies to venture. You might have gone to MIT, you might have gone to Harvard, you might have gone to Stanford, and you think you're the best investor of all time, or you think you have what it takes just because you went to Harvard. No, investors have a gift like the Masayoshi's of the world, and like Steve from Gigafund, and those people that have that ability to identify that and take the chances and do those things. And Ryan Metzger's of the world, and one of the best investors of all time. These are the people that take the chances, and as a result, like when everybody ran this way, they stormed forward.
I love that.
And that's how their success was built. So I had to go on a tangent about that because it's just facts.
I love that, man. And to when you guys raised from Gigafund, like, I'm trying to figure out how to word this. So when you come into the pitch, they don't typically invest in like food, right? Like in that space, like it's mostly like tech and that kind of stuff, or like hardware.
They don't invest in food.
That's what I was gonna say. So like you come in, like you're not a food truck, but like the overarching idea is like, okay, this is a food truck. How do you immediately like get rid of that kind of like that mindset? And then put them into what Ziki actually is. So
I think while we're on the topic too of raising money, like I think for me, I'm a very charismatic, high energy founder, and I think that you can't pass on an investment on Ziki unless you meet with me in person and you actually see the operation in person.
Yeah,
we're not going to have a Zoom call, and you're not going to tell me that like we just can't get around to it, or we don't understand the business, or what. It's not going to work.
Yeah,
come and meet me. You want to meet me in person, and then pass. Fair game.
Yeah.
But you have to meet me because the energy is infectious in person, and the business speaks for itself. And then you can sit at Ziki in our downtown location, 3rd and Congress, and you can sit there at 12 o'clock, and you can watch waves of people going and eating and freaking out and putting their friends onto it. Try the smash burger. I've never been here before. It's amazing. I eat here 3 times a week, 5 times a week. So there's that in-person component. When it comes to defining and categorizing Ziki, it can be a little bit challenging at times, right? For me, it's clear, but also you do have to think through a business that has so many components, because it's a business of complex coordination. Like Tesla, right? But you have to simplify it. So what do we do at the simplest level? We serve food. So what's the vision? Becoming the fastest growing restaurant company on the planet. And how are you going to get there? On the back end now, with a fully vertically integrated factory model with unstoppable unit economics that have never been seen. Okay, that's clear. But I'll give you an example. We were going to set up company insurance. None of the insurance companies could classify us. It took forever. They were like, are you a factory? Are you a restaurant? Are you what are you? And so finally we got a really solid company that was like, yeah, like you do it all. And we love that.
Nice. I love that. Very cool, man. Sweet. I'm going to skip through a couple of these. One thing you mentioned earlier was the whole seed oil thing. I know nothing about seed oils, man. So if you could kind of just walk me through what seed oils are, why they're, I didn't know if they're good or bad. If you're like, there's seed oils in this, I'd be like, sweet. So I don't know anything about that.
So basically, back in the earlier part of the century, we never had seed oils mainstream and in every single item that we eat. So if you go to your pantry, you go to the grocery store, I challenge you to pick up an item and find an item that does not have soy lecithin, canola oil, palm oil, or any kind of seed oil. So these are oils from seeds, right? So like canola oil is one of the most common ones. It's pretty much in every single fryer across every single restaurant in the world. Well, not the world, because other parts of the world don't use seed oils. The U.S. has a very poisoned, toxic food system. So they call them industrial seed oils. They were introduced about 100 years ago, and then if you watch the chart of how they climbed, you'll see that they're across everything. Massive growth of the introduction and implementation of seed oils throughout our system. Our body can't break these down. Your body actually holds on to the fats of seed oils for 6 years. It's almost impossible to remove them after some time.
Interesting.
Think about it. You have to eat multiple times per day, right? Some people eat 3 times, some people eat once. Regardless, they're almost unavoidable. Yeah. And so basically they extract the oils from the seeds, they heat them to extreme temperatures, they produce a lot of like linoleic acids, which your body can't break down, and then they also put carcinogens in the seed oils, and then you ingest those, and so your body can't react to that well. It doesn't sit well with your body. Inflammation. So there's charts, and I'll share. We'll put them on the screen. The introduction of seed oils going like this, and then diabetes, cancer, hormonal imbalance, depression, right along with the introduction of big seed oils that have completely taken over everything. And so back to basics are the best. You know, back in early America, families were eating what? Raw milk, butters, and everything like that, right? Just pure ingredients from the earth, and they were not obese. They were not obese, and they were eating a lot of red meat, and red meat's great for you. And red meat's great for you. You go to a grocery store, right? You have a carton of pasture-raised eggs. You know, it's from a grass-fed farm, and you know everything's done the right way, and regenerative farm or something, right? Really, really good eggs. You pick it up, you look at it, okay. And you look at the ingredients, and it says ingredients, egg. And then in the same shelf, you're going to pick up a carton of this liquid egg base called Just Egg. This company Just. And I don't mean to attack them because, look, I understand how hard it is to be an entrepreneur, but we're talking specifically about the food system and ingredient quality here.
Yeah.
So, my best wishes of success to all these companies and founders. I know how tough it is to go through, so I don't want to attack them. But you pick up that bottle, there's like 17 ingredients of things you have no idea. Do I want to just egg, but 17 ingredients or whatever it is?
Yeah.
How about just an egg?
Yeah.
So it's so obvious. And anyway, it's by the way, they put canola oil in lawnmowers to help fuel it.
Nice.
And you think that we're supposed to be eating that?
Yeah. I don't know nothing about this stuff, so I'm listening.
Yeah. So seed oils are horrible for you. They even cause you to sunburn. There was an experiment. They took two groups of monkeys. They fed the first group a terrible junk food diet full of seed oils. They put them out in the sun, gave them X amount of sun exposure. The second group of monkeys, they gave them a seed oil free diet. They fed them very natural fruit and butters and ingredients. Put them the same amount of sun exposure. Just about all of the monkeys in the first group developed some form of skin cancer or some kind of terrible skin reaction, and the second group, none. So even what your diet affects if you're getting sunburned. Right, so these seed oils, long story short, is like, why did they get introduced into our system? Because they're cheap and they're scalable, and the government doesn't give a shit and wants to basically poison people. You could go to a place like Italy or a place in Europe and you can eat 3 times the amount you're eating in the U.S., feel lighter, and lose weight.
Yeah.
And then you come to the U.S. and you'll eat less and you feel like shit and gain weight. And that's why we have such a high obesity rate. So something's going on. By the way, there's an insane amount of ingredients that are banned in Europe that are not banned
I've seen that.
in the US.
Yeah.
So long story short, avoid seed oils at all costs. It's really not hard to do, but you just have to be mindful of it. Like, I don't eat anything unless I pick it up and look at what's in it.
Interesting.
So.
Yeah, my diet, I mean, with that being said, my diet is not very good, so, but it's making me want to get some Ziki after this, so I might have to go hit that up on the way home.
Yeah, you should.
So what does the team look like? So you have your, because you're a startup, but you also have the food truck thing, but then you also have like the, you call it a cloud kitchen. What do you call it?
Modular restaurant.
Modular restaurant. Okay, gotcha. So you have where you're actually cutting the ingredients. You have the startup team where you're kind of like, you have operations and you're working on growth. So yeah,
100 employees, 100 plus employees throughout the entire company.
Gotcha.
HQ is about 15. So it's everybody in the corporate office. Myself,
Is that downtown or where's that?
That's on South Congress.
Cool. Okay.
Myself, chief of staff, operations director, head of finance, head of marketing, head of creative, head of supply chain and agriculture, right? So those core positions, which will scale, and we're not going to need to have those same positions in every market we go to. They're the execs.
Yeah.
Then you have a lot of chefs because 10 locations. We're open from 10 a.m. to 3 a.m. 7 days.
You're open till 3 a.m.?
3 a.m.
I didn't know.
Yeah, across every location, 7 days.
I wish I knew that, man. I've been walking home wanting food so many
We're
times.
the best junk food.
Dude, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Damn.
So open till 3 a.m. across every location, 7 days per week. So multiple shifts across every location. So we have a lot of chefs. Another thing is that we have even more chefs because we have eliminated overtime labor throughout the company completely.
Cool.
Right, so that's how you lower labor costs and obviously cap it at a certain amount. But then you have the factory and automation team. So of course we just completed the kitchen robotics acquisition. That was 7 months in the work. Major victory for us. But that brings over 10 new employees on the team, so we can build automation from our factory.
Cool.
Then you have the commissary, which is another set of employees, and out of there, all the food prep is being done, which requires a significant amount of hands on deck because they're prepping food for 10 locations. And we also run catering out of the commissary because it's a controlled environment. Catering's a massive revenue stream for us.
Very cool.
We even cater for Neuralink, actually.
Oh, very cool. Nice. That's awesome.
Cater for Joe Rogan too.
Nice. Okay. Very cool. Wait, for like his podcast or just like for his
the comedy club.
mothership, whatever it's called?
Not the mothership yet, but the at Vulcan Gasco when they were doing all those comedy sets. So we've catered for that group.
So cool. What is like I don't even know how to ask this. What is I guess if you're charging, let's say you're charging $15 for one of your menu items, what is the catering kind of upcharge for that menu item, if you could break it down?
Well, so for catering, we have an in-house catering platform that you just go to our website. Right now we're using Toast, but we're building our own with the launch of the Ziki app as well. Right? So That's set up like tray style, basically, and it's more cost effective. But then we're on Easy Cater, Lunch Drop, Foodie, Fuda, all those other different catering platforms, which is more individualized, similar to like if you were to order on Doordash or Uber Eats for yourself, but in mass. So we have different channels, but the main one that we do for catering is the tray style. So you'll get like a massive tray of rice and warm, fresh, seasoned pita bread and Ziki bites, and so catering's a big one for us, and it's becoming more and more of a big focus for us, to be honest.
Very cool. Wait, out of curiosity, do you like Uber Eats or DoorDash more?
Uber Eats.
Okay, why is that?
Uber's genius, right? We just think of it. So here's one question that I get. Is it hard to navigate the waters of mobile operations and permitting and being a mobile unit? But what about permits and regulations? No, it's not hard. There's this false narrative that it's hard to navigate the mobile food industry. Why do people think like that? Because who's had to navigate it? Local mom and pop businesses that
haven't run a business before.
They've never run a business before, or even if they have, they've never run a food truck before, and they have to battle against basically the health department. That's like the DMV, but worse, and it's so archaic. And then on top of it, you have multiple health codes across different jurisdictions and counties. In our case, we're not a local mom and pop business. We're venture backed. We have extreme resources, a lot of teams. So the same way that Uber came along and re-architected the global transportation system, that's what we're doing on the permitting. I love being mobile. It allows us to obtain permits faster and it's cheaper. And we operate in different counties and jurisdictions right now. We've never had a hiccup. We know how to pass all our inspections and obtain permits, and it's very lean and efficient. But we have the resources. Back in the day, it's like if you equate it to the taxi industry, it's so hard to get the taxi medallion, blah, 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 then Uber comes along and boom. Think about 10, 15 years ago, you would have had to go outside if you needed a ride, waving your hand, hoping that a taxi may or may not ever come. Isn't that insane?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And now it's boop. Yeah. So I like Uber more because they've created that network of drivers. They really were like the pioneer to do that, right? Of course, and Uber's smart. Not only does Uber do it for cars, but then they say we have this network of cars. What else can we use it for? Uber Eats. And then you know what else? Uber. So we do a lot of supply chain and factory ops. Now they have Uber Freight. And Uber
that's right. They do
like,
that.
You need to ship. We need to ship a Modular from our factory or 25 refrigerators to and from our factory. You call Uber Freight like an Uber, and a massive truck pulls up.
That's absurd.
Genius.
That's absurd.
I was thinking of this idea. Uber should do Uber Air. They should get into the airline.
I think
industry.
I think they've gone up and down with the chopper thing for years. Like I feel like they have helicopters.
Just buy an airline and call it Uber Air.
It would be similar like the small charter planes. Yeah, they could do that.
They could buy a company. Maybe, who knows? But I also like their app experience and software experience better. If you go to DoorDash, it looks like you just whacked open a piñata and there's confetti everywhere.
Or like you're using a mobile website kind of a thing. It's kind of like...
it's just there's too many things on DoorDash.
Yeah.
It's not simple enough. Uber's clean. The experience typically has been better. I've had a lot of experience where DoorDash drivers didn't show up, and also Uber's our biggest third-party marketplace from the volume they bring us.
Cool.
That could be an Austin thing. Just maybe Uber's more popular here. Maybe in Miami, DoorDash is bigger than Uber. But
interesting.
We'll find out.
Yeah, you will. You will. How do you, for like founders watching this, how do you handle the onboarding process? So like, I mean, as a CEO myself too, like I'm definitely more of a product guy, but it's like, now I'm hiring a marketing guy, you're hiring an agricultural guy. How do you handle hiring and training different people? Or like, let's say you hire the agriculture guy. Does he already know what he's doing? You're like, okay, this is your job, go do it. You trust him? Like, how does that work?
Are you talking about hiring on the corporate level or?
We'll go corporate. Yeah.
Corporate level, everything that I've ever done has been around intuition. I don't care what your GPA was. I don't care. One of my greatest strengths, and this is not me bragging, it's team building. So I identify talent quickly, and I'm extremely decisive on it. For example, the robot acquisition. I had one Zoom call with them. Right after the call ended, I emailed them and said, "We're booking your flights. Come visit Austin." Because I already knew on the first call that I wanted to acquire them, and I don't think that they knew.
Yeah.
They didn't even know, because I was already thinking like that. I met them, and I was like, why am I flying them out? I have to meet them in person. I'm an in-person kind of guy. So, like I said about the investors, right away the energy clicked, and I was like, these guys need to be part of Ziki because we're going to do way better things together.
Yeah.
And so when I sit down with somebody, I've interviewed every single corporate employee myself, and I will continue to do that for a long time.
Yeah.
Like that should be done by me, at least for the first 500 employees, realistically.
Yeah, until it becomes absurd. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so you know, I feel them out. I get a sense on their commitment level. I get a sense on if they fit the culture, and that's one of the biggest things because I'm huge on culture. So the Ziki culture is very intense, very energetic, and very not politically correct. Okay, I'm not here to be politically correct. I'm trying to build the most significant company to ever exist in food, and also I want to create a comfortable environment where people can be free and we can make jokes with each other, and people aren't going to be crying and being offended about every little thing that is said. It's fun. Let's be real people. We can talk about God, and we could do whatever things we want and have fun here. Very professional and not disrespectful, but let's have fun, and we're not doing the whole politically correct thing. And so that's a good filter for me. If people come in and I get the sense that they're like going to be like super politically correct, I'm like, you're just not going to fit the culture. And if you don't fit the culture, we're not going to like working with you, and you're not going to like working here. And then if we don't like working with each other, then you're not going to perform well. So you don't really belong at Ziki. So you have to fit the culture. You have to be energetic. You have to be passionate, and you have to get the feeling that like I can trust you.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. Do you guys have, I don't know if you mentioned this, do you guys do delivery yourself yet, or are you planning on doing that, or you just let Uber and DoorDash handle that?
So that's, you asked before, at what point do you
you cut off.
Right now, it's not practical to try and create.
It's kind of,
we're going to leverage those marketplaces. They've been around for decades. They've raised billions of dollars. They have insane infrastructure. Let them handle delivery. In the future, maybe we do acquire a delivery company and run it and integrate it with the Ziki app. It's certainly a possibility. Maybe we acquire an autonomous delivery company. It's robots or something like that, or drone delivery. I don't know, but I'm not saying we won't do it in the future, but I am saying we won't do it in the near future.
Like the percent they take is enough for, or is worth it enough for you to be like, we're not gonna fucking.
Well, I'll tell you why the importance of building the Ziki app when it comes to profit margins, right? And so if you straight up just receive orders from DoorDash or Uber Eats or Grubhub, they take on average between 20 and 30% of a single order from a restaurant. We're building our own technology, right? The Ziki app. DoorDash, for example, has a API. Which you plug in that API into your software, and it gives you access to all their delivery drivers.
Oh, cool.
So when a customer orders through the Ziki app, they're going to place, say, a smash burger from the South Congress location for delivery to their house. That was ordered through the Ziki app, but DoorDash, because we've integrated their API, is facilitating that delivery on our behalf to the customer. And the customer is paying the delivery fee to the driver, but we're not paying the fee to DoorDash.
Interesting. Gotcha.
On the order.
Very cool.
So customer pays delivery fee, no fee for us from DoorDash. Whereas if they go straight through, you know why? Because if they order through the Ziki app, they are our customer. If they order through DoorDash, that is DoorDash's customer. If you order through DoorDash right now, you're technically not a Ziki customer. You're a DoorDash customer. You order through them. You know why? Because you might order the Greek salad from Ziki, and then DoorDash is going to take your data, which they don't let you own, which, by the way, Travis Kalanick is legaling up right now big time and getting ready
against
to go.
DoorDash or gotcha.
And respect to him for doing that. But obviously his motive is for his platform.
Of course, yeah.
Right? But still a good thing nonetheless, and it needs to be addressed. And he's a beast when it comes to navigating legal, right? Because with Uber, he had to kick down many doors with battle legislation.
Insane, yeah.
But if you order the Greek salad through DoorDash, then the next time you log into DoorDash, they're going to say, hey, Cory, you like salad. Why don't you try this sweet green salad? Here's $5 off. So great, thanks, DoorDash. You just gave our customer to sweet green.
Yeah.
Whereas you order through Ziki, we have the data. We own the data. We say, Cory, thanks for ordering Greek salad. Based on your order history, we know that you like it. You should try our feta fig salad now. Here's $5 off. Retention.
Love that.
Increase the LTV of the customer over the long term.
Love that. I mean, I'm gonna have to get the Ziki app. Make me an early beta user, man. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, that's great because we're accumulating a list. So
love
put you on that.
Love to, and all the homies would love to also.
Okay,
so
good.
Let me know.
That's very helpful. We would definitely put you on that.
Of course, man. Absolutely. Are there any partnerships that you guys do or collaborations, like social media gurus, or you have like some big chef you work with or anything like that?
We just had Carnivore MD.
Okay.
Paul Saladino, his doctor, has got over 1.3 million followers.
Okay.
He's basically like the father of this anti-seed oil movement. He's the guy. He's the reason, basically, that his influence on my personal life, he influenced me so much when I started following him that I became completely seed oil free. And then I said, I eat at Ziki every day, and if I'm seed oil free, Ziki needs to be the same way.
So it didn't start seed oil free. No. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Around very early though it did, like basically month 2.
Gotcha.
Because I wasn't aware of it. And then I started following Paul Saladino, is on Instagram. He's Carnivore MD, like over 1 million followers, huge following. And then basically I was like, we got to do this for Ziki as well. And so we cut out all seed oils, and we went with this super holistic, amazing approach.
Very cool.
He just came to Ziki last week. It was very full circle for the team because he didn't even know the impact he actually had on Ziki being seed oil free. And so, I mean, even from his visit, we got a huge boost, like over 3,500 followers just from him posting a story in a day. And it was incredible to meet him. He was awesome, and he's the guru.
Very cool.
So if you're looking to like learn more about it, follow him.
Yeah, I got so much stuff to do after this podcast.
Yeah.
I know. For being in the fitness industry, I really know very little about the actual health side of the industry. So something that I'm always working on. So my friend Sydney, actually, she runs a healthy cooking company or cookie company, and she was just on Gordon Ramsay's chef show, like the startup chefs. I could see you being on that show and being like a huge hit. I'm gonna literally hit her up and see if I can get an intro for you, because like basically they take 12 young startup chefs that are running cool, like kind of tech friendly startup companies. They put them in like a Gordon Ramsay competition. And I could see you on that show. Like you would kill it on that show. So I'll hit her up about that.
That'd be great. I could also play the Gordon Ramsay role.
Yeah, no, yeah, you could just be like, 100%, man, 100%. So with so many allergies, I feel like every day there's a new allergy. How do you guys go about, generating your menu, like worrying about, someone's gonna have a peanut allergy? Like, how do you guys go about that?
We're just very specific and open and transparent about what it contains and allergies, and also we're working with this company right now. We've been working with them for a few months, and they're analyzing every single micro and macro ingredient and nutritional breakdown of Ziki. So very soon we'll have a full-blown nutritional data, outline for every item: fat content, sugar content, calories. Like,
love that.
We've been huge demand for that. We get asked all the time, and we keep telling them like we're working on it, and we have been. So, but it's nearing the finish line, and that'll be public soon.
Very cool. And one thing I forgot to ask, and I don't know if you can answer this, but you probably can't. How did the acquisition come about, or what are, I don't want to say terms because you can't say that probably, but like, did you buy them outright? Are they kind of like they got equity? Like, what is that process?
I can't get too specific on
exactly.
the structural terms of the acquisition, but what I will say is this is not the first acquisition that I pulled off in the company. It's just probably the most significant. And what I will say on it is that it was done in an extremely lean and unusual fashion, and it was a brilliant.
You paid them in Ziki food credit?
That came along with it, for sure. That's what we do. I mean, right outside of our office, we have a Ziki location, and it's been essential for us because we fix so many issues there. And
it's so cool.
Constantly iterate menu items there, and we are hands-on right there with the location being right next to us. So.
Does most of the staff eat there during the day then? Or
they do. Yeah, they get a free meal.
Oh, I love that, man. Very cool. Okay, sweet. Honestly, man, the rest of my questions are mostly about like, target market and that kind of stuff.
The kitchen staff gets a free meal. The corporate staff gets an employee discount.
Okay, I was gonna say that's what I was gonna ask. Okay, gotcha.
Margins are important.
Okay, I was gonna say, I was like, that's a lot of free Ziki, man. Well, sweet, man. I think we covered most of what I wanted to cover. I mean, kind of just your guys' growth plans, how you guys built the company. Is there anything else that I missed that you would want to cover?
Let me think. We talked a lot about food. We talked a lot about brand, seed oils, the funding, factory, economics, the acquisition. Miami's next. I would just say, like, to the Austin listeners, if you haven't tried us out, try us out. Also, I would say to the Austin listeners, if there are things that, if you're a customer and you have feedback for us, like, we want to hear the feedback. So please shoot us an email or shoot us a DM, or, we have a link in our bio on Instagram as well, which is a feedback form. And so we want to hear how we can make it better, right? Because the food's exceptional, but it can always get better, and it will continue to get better. So give us feedback. Let us know how the order experience can be better, the food experience can be better. But, I mean, I think we covered a ton. Obviously, like, I'm super energized by everything right now.
Very good, man.
Like, I'm happy to have shared a lot of things on this podcast, which honestly I didn't anticipate to.
Yeah, there you go.
But when I'm flowing, and that's great. You do a great job of making the guests feel comfortable, and you have a good space in here.
Appreciate
and like, you obviously have experience in doing this, so you allow the guests to flow, which is a good thing. So keep doing what you're doing as well. And
Appreciate
I'm just like glad we got to do this and crush it.
From Sky House to to the podcast,
That's
man.
Right.
Pleasure to have you on
Thank
here,
you,
man.
Cory.
That's why we
Thank
strive,
you.
man. Good
Appreciate
stuff.
it. Yes.